Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again. I am Katie Batesman, Content Director at SheCanCode, and today we are discussing Foundry Beginnings, a conversation with inspiring women in tech. I've got two incredible women from Foundry with me today, and we're going to delve into their fascinating journeys during their first 6 months at the company. I have Subin and Gabby, who are here to give us a glimpse into their onboarding, day-to-day, and their advice for other females in the tech industry. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you both with us today. Can we kick off with a bit of context and a bit of background about you both to set the scene for our audience, if that's okay? Gabby, should we start with you?
Sure. So I'm Gabby. I'm a software engineer at Foundry, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Amazing. Gabby, can I ask you a little bit about your education? Did you study computer science? Did you have a traditional background? What was your route in?
I have a traditional background. I did my undergrad in computer engineering. So I studied in Brazil. The undergrad there is 5 years, so 5 long years, but I was able to learn everything from software to hardware. So yeah, so I decided I loved software more. So I went through the path of web developing. I worked in a bank, but then I realized I really did not want to work in a bank. And during the pandemic, I was like, okay, so what type of industry do I like? What are my hobbies? Something that I can combine with my work life. And I realized that I really, really liked it and was interested about computer animation and visual effects. And it could be something related to my degree. So I decided to shift industries, but I really wanted uh, a better base to be able to do that. So I did a master's degree in computer animation and visual effects, and after the master's, I got the job in the VFX company.
Incredible. That's an impressive background so far, and you're only very new in work. So, Subin, yourself, welcome. What is your background? What does your background look like, and what do you do at Foundry?
Hello, so I'm Subin. I'm also a software developer at Foundry. I have a not very traditional background. I had a pretty unrelated undergraduate back in Korea. I did politics and economics. And then after that, I did a bit of tutoring for math and English for high school students for a few years, figuring out what I wanted to do in life. I was very undecisive about what to do because I wanted to do everything at once. And and then I remembered I really like video games and computer. Also a lifelong gamer. So I decided to go to UK to do a course in video game arts, where I learned how to use game engines, which was a bit more technical than I expected. And I was always doing a bit of scripting for myself since young, modding for games, making small websites. So I decided, okay, maybe I can do something related to computer tech and creative industry. So it was either gaming or VFX. I was a junior technical director at a few studios before I joined Foundry. Only a couple years of experience. There I did mostly debugging and looking at what's wrong with the VFX pipelines, fixing stuff, which gave me more understanding about VFX industry, because it turns out game and VFX is similar but very different. So I learned about VFX there, and I joined Foundry, and now I'm working here as a software developer.
Nice. And you are both perfect examples of having completely different backgrounds, which is something that we love to advocate at SheCanCode that, Gabby, you have a traditional, more traditional computer science-based background, and Subin, you come from a very different path. Politics, you started in politics and economics, and then moved into tech, and that's something that we love to hear here, and that you can come into tech at any time, and you can have that thought at any time, and train and end up in a really good job at a really good company. So perfect start. So what I wanted to ask you next was, so you've landed yourself now great roles at Foundry. So what attracted you to Foundry in the first place? Was it something about the company, and how did you find your way in there? Subin, should we go to you first on that?
Yeah. So when I was working as a TD in studios, I was exposed to Foundry products, at least two of them, is Nuke and Katana, where I would look up the file and trying to see what's plugging the pipeline, etc. So I already knew Foundry and what they do and what they make. So I exposed their software. And then luckily, Chloe, a different Chloe, the in-house recruiter, she reached out to me on LinkedIn. And then I was ecstatic. So I really knew that I really wanted to work for a software company. Studio is nice, but I wanted to go more into technical role. So I did the interview and joined the team. What attracted me the most is that first thing was that they are a software company. So as a developer, the experience of writing code and developing products was more seamless. So that was my favorite thing about Foundry when I joined.
Yeah. I think it's nice to hear as well that you, when you were contacted by them, you were so excited by that, because they're quite a creative company as well, and that's not always something that we think of in tech, is it? That you don't always think your role is going to be that creative, but as a company, when you look at them, I mean, I'm not technically minded, but they quite creative to look at from the outside. Is that something that you kind of expected, Subin, or had you had creativity in a past role, and then kind of when you saw Foundry, you thought, yeah, I'm going to get that chance now?
Oh yeah, so when I was doing my game arts course with game engines, I had a bit of a creative opportunity to create like visual stuff. When I was working as a TD, which means a technical director, you are kind of debugging and scripting in Python for small stuff. Since then, I was mostly just programming, but because your programs are used by artists, you get to see some cool stuff on the way.
Yeah.
And it feels nice to help artists to really get their full potential in their artworks. I think as a developer at Foundry, it's mostly programming and problem solving, which is also, I think, another form of creativity. You're just kind of figuring out what to do.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we see like demos done by our people at Foundry, or just looking at movies and stuff, and it's like, wow, that was probably Foundry products.
Yeah.
At the end of the pipeline. So yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, and that all of that is your job. Yeah. Very nice. Gabby, yourself, what attracted you to Foundry, and how did you end up joining?
It was quite similar to Subin in regards to HR approach, but it was the same Chloe. And well, when I decided to do my master's degree, I looked up some universities, and I also looked up where alumni from the university that I was applying to, where they were working, like what path were they following after the master's degree. And Foundry kept popping on their profiles, and I was like, oh, and because I didn't know much about the industry, I didn't know Foundry before, but even before I started my master's, I was like, okay, this could be an option for me after I graduate. And something that really intrigued me was that Foundry's slogan is like imagination engineered. So that was basically what I was looking for. It was engineering and like the creative aspect of it as well. And like Subin said, the fact that it's a software company, not a studio, will also focus more on my abilities, and I feel like I can help and contribute even more. So that's what led me to Foundry. And when I was at the end of my master's degree, I knew that I had to make myself visible to potential employees. So I focus a lot on promoting my work and skills on LinkedIn and hoping that some recruiter could find me. And Chloe did, and she sent me the job details. I went through the interview process, which was a great experience. And here I am now.
Yeah, and you see, you mentioned it was creative then. But when you worked in a bank, I kind of got the feeling from you that it wasn't. Is that what you were looking for in your next role? And Foundry does really tick that box.
Oh yeah, for sure. At the bank was everything pretty robotic, and um, no, there was not really room for creativity. It was just like, I need to develop this feature, and you need to program it as fast as you can and put in production as soon as you can. And as soon as you finish that one, there's a new one and a new one and a new one. And you never know exactly what you're doing. You're just like producing everything, and you don't even know how the user is gonna receive that. And it wasn't really like, I felt like I was just like a little robot. And here I feel like I have a purpose, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, day to day, yes, you have to be happy in your role, and mentally when you switch off, you have to feel like, you know what, I did something that day, or even at the end of the year, you have to feel like, you know, I achieved certain things this year, because you just go into the next one feeling like I just did lots of little tasks this year, and I don't know how I helped people, or what I actually achieved. So you're so right there. You've both been at Foundry for about 6 months. So I wanted to ask you, are there any standout moments for you or projects that have left a lasting impression? Gabby, should we start with you on that one? Now you're happier than you were in the bank. What stands
Yeah.
out for you here?
Yeah, so both Subin and I, we both work at the Katana team. So we work on the software called Katana, which is like a light and rendering software. And a particular moment that stands out, it's when I created my first Katana node from scratch. Uh, our team focus on is very much centered around USD, Universal Scene Description. And before joining Foundry, my understanding of USD was pretty minimal. So this was both a challenge and an exciting learning opportunity for me to develop this node. Diving deep into how our software is structured while getting like a crash course in USD concepts at the same time was not a easy task to accomplish. But the moment I successfully developed the node, and it was more than just a personal victory, it symbolized my like real tangible contribution to the team and to the company. And the experience left a lasting impression on me because it highlighted the fact that I could truly help to push our projects forward and actually make a difference.
Yeah, you know, it's always nice when you say, you know, I got in a company and I learned something new, because it's almost as if really good companies, they just grab hold of great talent and then they train you up in the areas that they need you to work in, instead of always looking for that person who perhaps, you know, that person who doesn't have everything that they need and doesn't exist, but they grab hold of really good talent and continue to develop you along the way. And you're really early in Foundry, but you've already learned a completely new skill that you didn't have before. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, Lord only knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months for you.
Yeah, I feel like that happened because the team is extremely supportive. Like, we are always talking to each other and sharing things, and we're open to ask questions anytime. And our team is really, really good technically. So any questions that we have, they're able to solve it and explain and teach. So it's a really great environment to learn new things.
Yeah, yeah. And Subin, yourself, what about you? Have there been any standout moments and projects that you've worked on in your first 6 months?
I think mine must be a similar thing to Gabby when I first shipped my newly added feature to production so that people can use it. So it's like a node. Node is like something you drop down into the program and connect input and output something else. You can do that like writing by texting, like putting in text, but we made it so that people can do it easily. And I felt really proud when I first sent that into the production codes to be used by a lot of people.
And when you do that, do you get feedback? And it's kind of, you work as a team to hear what the users thought and how you can improve on that. I take it it's a different experience from what Gabby was explaining before of being in a company where you just, do a task and you tick it off. But I take it you get feedback on everything you do as well from the user.
Yeah. When I first joined Foundry, the first thing when you join the company, you just figure out how like the life cycle of a project works. So like making planning review, it's like a cycle, like a self-feeding feedback loop. So, and then we have other teams who are doing testing and gathering feedback from clients and Foundry people. That we always ensure that we are actually making sure that this thing that we made will be actually used for its correct purpose.
Yeah.
And then we also get continuous feedback on our open forums by whoever's using our products. So yeah, it's a very well working cycle in the end.
Yeah. Which, as you said before, must really help you to move to the next one and the next one. And when you're at the end of the year, you can see all of these things that you've worked on and how many people you've helped, which really will be encouraging for the next year and the year after.
Yeah.
Can we talk to you? I wanted to know a little bit about your onboarding experience and how it helped shape your understanding of the company culture. Gabby, you mentioned your interview process and that you really enjoyed that and that was a positive experience. Can you walk me through what your onboarding experience was like, kind of from interview, through to the first few weeks at your company?
Yeah, it was really funny. I didn't even tell Chloe about that, but when she reached out, she like, can we talk a little bit? And I thought it was already like a big interview, so I prepared myself. I reserved a room in my university, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in this interview for like 1 hour or whatever, and I need to promote myself as best as I can. But that first interview was with Chloe. She's from HR, and she was just making sure that I could be part. So it was a part of the company, like, are you studying? Can you come to London? And all these like basic stuff to start the process. So it was like a 10-minute interview, and I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't now. But okay, I'll be
It
prepared for
eased
the
you
next.
in that she
Yeah.
was nice and I could move to the next level.
Yeah, and she was like, okay, everything's fine. You can continue with the process, because the both companies that I worked before, it was like just one interview, yes or no, and that's it. And then she told me that they would be sending me a like a task for me to do. I could do it in a week and send it to them as whenever I could. And it was a C++ task, and I made sure to showcase every ability that I had and that I saw that they needed in the job role. So that happened, and my team, my current manager, and another person from my team, a senior developer, they checked the task and they're like, okay, this person has the technical abilities that we need. Let's talk to her to check her personality and how she's like at work and so on. Um, so they liked my task. They booked the interview. That was more like they were asking questions about the task, and they were also asking questions about me. And after that, if they liked the result of that interview, there was a third interview, which was a live task one. So they would give me a code and I would have to find like bugs and stuff. And that one was live. They would be watching me. And after that, Chloe reached out and said, "Hey, can we talk?" And she said that they would like to offer the position. So that was the interview process, which I believe Subin might be similar. And the onboarding was really nice. On my first day, which was 2 weeks after Subin's first day. On my first day, everyone from the team went in person to the company. We met in person. It was really nice. Everyone was super nice. We had lunch together, and it was really cool to see that people from other teams were also like coming and talking to me, introducing themselves, and I was already starting to feel part of the company. And another cool thing that they do for onboarding are the buddies. So we had a team buddy and a culture buddy. The team buddy was to ask like technical questions and questions about the team, and the culture buddy was to like learn a little bit more about the culture, Foundry's culture. And we had like weekly meetings that I could ask questions. So it was a really good way to like understand the company and see how I could fit it within it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Instead of you get the job and then that's it, and you're kind of thrown in, you expected to start your training, but it's nice that you have two different buddies for two different things as well. That culture is just as important as your actual day job and what you're doing on your team. So yeah, that's really well thought out. Subin, I can see you nodding. I'm assuming you had a very similar interview process and onboarding. Did you also do a live test as well?
So everything Gabby did, I did the same things. I didn't write a single line of C++ before I joined Foundry, and I
Oh,
got the C++ question as my interview, and I was like, time to not sleep for 2 weeks and learn everything from scratch. So,
well, you made it, Subin. You
yeah,
made it.
it's a miracle. They said, we really appreciate your willingness to learn. I think probably my technicality for C++ wasn't very well. 2 weeks of learning. But good thing about Foundry that I want to add is that they have mentorship program where you can either sign up or you can sign up to be a mentor or mentee. And I signed up to be a mentee for C++ by a senior, I'm not sure if it's senior or mid, but senior developer, a C++ developer in Foundry at Tillman. So we've been doing mentoring for a few months now since I joined, which is really, really helpful as a new C++ staff. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention, that all the support, onboarding, documentations, you have a buddies and mentoring, and you can always ask questions on Slack channels. Anything you need, you can drop it in a channel with hundreds of developers and everyone will come and give their opinions. So yeah, really collaborative workspace, I would say.
Amazing. And kind of similar to Gabby as well, we were talking about earlier about grabbing hold of people that have good skills, maybe not everything that company is looking for in the job description.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation we have on here a lot as well, that a lot of ladies see job descriptions, they don't tick all of the boxes and they won't apply.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes companies are just looking for great employees. They get you in, they train you up, they put you in a mentoring program, and surely over time you're both going to be far more loyal employees as well. That instead of thinking in a few years, oh, I'll jump ship and go somewhere else, you'll feel a bit more that you'll want to stay put and really invest your time at Foundry for quite a few good years.
Yeah, I will say that's definitely a factor. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I have in my memory that Subin and I, we were like going for the same role, but James liked us, our manager liked us, and I believe that this willingness of Subin to like really want to learn, I think he requested a new role just to be able to hire us both.
That's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it when that happens. So you just think, you know what, we've met some brilliant people and we're not going to let them go regardless, and we're just going to train you up in things that we need, or things that also, not just things that the company needs, but things that you want to learn along the way. And that if you are that type of person that's willing to learn, then yeah, definitely. That's amazing though, that they thought, you know what, we're just going to make room. We're just going to bring you on. Subin, now you're in and you made it in, and you are thriving. What does a typical day look like for you at Foundry?
Yeah, so we have a typical hours. Usually in the morning we have meetings to discuss what we're up to the other day. That's like a daily meeting to check out, like what have you been? How have you been? What have you been doing? What are we going to do today? Any questions as well? And then sometimes chit chat about how was the weekend, catching up, always good. And then after that, it depends on people, but I usually do code reviews. So I would just look at other people's code because they put up into the cloud that everyone can see and give feedbacks or just kind of learn from their code, which I'm doing a lot because I'm doing it. And I'll do that. And then I'll get back to my task and trying to do investigation first. What do I need and stuff like that. And then do some actual coding and put that up for review. So that's like the whole cycle of a task. So depending on how busy I am or how important the task is, I'll squeeze in some extra work. Sometimes I'll do documentations, like writing up stuff so that future myself or other people can look up instead of scavenging for informations. Or for me, I'm doing the mentoring, and that's taking quite a big chunk of my day. So I will do like 1 hour of learning C++. And then every Wednesday I do actual mentoring session. That's like a couple hours. So my days vary quite a bit, but I think it's usually people do meetings, and then do some coding, and then do reviews.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty varied.
Yeah.
Then it's not you just do coding and that is your only task, and which sometimes is the stereotype of working in tech. That's the only thing you do. But your day is very varied, and lots of learning in there as
Yeah.
well. Gabby, what's your day like? Is it just as varied?
Yeah, it's similar actually. So there's the morning calls and we catch up with everyone. And when we are developing tasks, one thing that we usually do, especially me and Subin, we go to huddles. So it's just like we both are in a call. We're working our tasks separately, but if we have any questions, we can just reach out. They are like informal calls. Yeah, and people can jump in, jump out, and yeah, it's really cool to like just be able to be there coding. You know, someone is on the other side of the line, and you can talk to them. And I feel like during that, depending on the day, we also have like different type of calls and like we have a dev catch up weekly, which everyone on the team come together, and if there's a technical topic that everyone needs to know or something that someone did that they believe it's good that everyone learned what they learned, they can share. And we also do retrospective. So we, after 2 weeks, we're like, hey, how was this 2 weeks? How can we improve? And what should we stop doing? What should we start to do? And I really like that Foundry. We also have social times. So there's like a space in our calendar that we like 30 minutes. We just come together, have a coffee together, even it's at home. Everyone's at home, but we just stop and talk a little bit. And we also have social time with other teams on Fridays. So it's not like oh, you're always working. You also have playing time to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice. And having spoken to quite a few ladies that work at Foundry, it's always as if you both kind of mentioned it as well there. There's always someone at the end of the line. It's almost like if you have a problem, you don't have to sit and worry about your own problem on your own, especially if you're hybrid. Sometimes that can be, you can feel a bit lonely or that you're the only one dealing with a problem. Whereas it sounds like on your teams, it's very, someone's always there if you do need somebody, or and not just in a social aspect, but you know, you can just call somebody up and chat through something. That it seems to be a bit of a theme at Foundry, that it's a very your teams are very interactive. Is that right?
Yeah, very organic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tell us not to be stuck in a task by ourselves, like 20 minutes max. Otherwise, just reach out. They encourage us, actually.
Yeah. Instead of having that feeling of panic at home. On that note of challenges, are there any specific aspects of your role or projects that you find exciting or challenging? Because it's nice to have the excitement, but also you can have the challenge inside as well that keeps us all going. Are there any aspects there of roles or projects for you that are exciting or challenging? Subin, should we ask you first?
Oh, I think challenging VFX industry. The nature of it is very, very fast changing. It's everything's rolling out. Everyone's rolling out new things every year. This year being the AI and stuff like that. USD is fairly new for to be on the market and stuff. It's like you're learning everything. Everything changes so fast. So there is a lot to be. You're working on something that's not very charted yet. So you just have to figure out how to use that. And sometimes there'll be very little documentations, etc. Especially, I think our team, Gabby and my team is USD related. So everything's new. So that's the challenging part. But that's also kind of the exciting part, because you're doing something that's on a kind of like a bleeding edge. So just exciting by just the nature of it. And then my role as a developer in Katana, working on their products. As a developer, I think the biggest fun or like rewarding thing is you problem solve. You just kind of make it work. Sometimes it's not a smooth path. Sometimes you just do very hacky things to make things work, which is I find it very fun. It's kind of like a video game or puzzle in a way. And you're also exposed to a lot of smart people with great ideas. So when I'm reviewing other people's codes, like, oh, you could do this, or I ask question and they say something really mind-blowing, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. So it's always like, if you're like intellectually curious, I think it'll be really rewarding to work as a developer.
Yeah. And you can see why they grabbed hold of you so fast as well, so quick, because you learn C++ so fast for your interview process.
Learning, yeah.
Because you're right, everything moves so fast, and for somebody to want to keep learning, that's quite unique to find in somebody. So yeah, they obviously saw that shining through in you and thought, you know what, we're going to grab hold of her. She learned C++ just for her interview, and then you continue to learn along the way, because as you said, that's kind of something that will never end, because you're constantly learning at a fast pace. So that's brilliant. Gabby, yourself, is that something that kind of echoes of you as well? You're constantly learning, which is exciting, but can sometimes be a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like that is when you work with technology, it's just crazy, and it's getting crazier and crazier. Every month there's a new thing with AI, with whatever. So it's really hard, but we have to keep up with it. And I feel like within the VFX company industry, it's pretty similar or even faster. But to me, that is really challenging. But there's also other aspect of the job that I found really challenging, and because I don't have experience in the industry, like Subin was saying, like she worked in studios before and she was able to see firsthand how artists use our tools. I've never seen anyone using our tool like to do like a movie or something. So having to change my mindset to be like artist focused, but at the same time I need to learn how artists think and how they use our tool. So within the fact that I have to learn about USD and technology and everything new, I also need to change my mindset to think like a user that I never interacted with. Because for example, at the bank, I had a bank account at the bank. I knew what I needed. Here, I'm not an artist. I can try to learn. Of course, in my master's degree, of course they showed us how, but it was in a surface level, and the things that we're developing are for, I think, people that really know how what they're doing. So this mindset shift I'm still learning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
can
another
like,
learning curve. Yeah.
yeah, I think for me, even with like almost 2 years at studios, I'm still very lost in like how katana works. Surface level knowledge I have. So I can only imagine how difficult it must be for Gabby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as you say, is this a learning path every day that you will start to kind of immerse yourself into what you need to know, Gabby, and how that artist works. And yeah, it's gonna take some time, and as you said, a whole mental shift as well. But yeah, a brilliant challenge ahead. Um, I wanted to touch upon a little bit about you being women in tech, and whether or not you've encountered any specific challenges, and how did you navigate through them? It sounds like you've had not an easy path into tech, but you have managed to land yourselves really good roles at Foundry. So, have you had any challenges as women in tech as yet that you can share with our community? Subin, yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's I feel like the biggest thing for me is the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
The imposter syndrome. I think all we can all agree that while everyone has it to some degree, for women, I think it really hits hard because we're always expected to be perfect and confident, just do everything perfectly. And it's like outside pressure is a lot less than the pressure you put on yourself to be perfect. And then there's also, I think, external factors that you don't see much of yourselves in the industry. Most of it, IT and tech, is VFX as well, as very male dominated. It's a white man's industry, like a lot of other industry. So you really have to believe in yourself and trying not to be so hard on yourself because you're only learning, you're just doing your job. The fact that we don't see much of women in especially leadership positions, maybe time will solve things SheCanCode is doing is a great example. So yeah, my advice, my challenge was basically imposter syndrome. Like if I have to summarize it, it was that.
Yeah, and to see and to hear as you said, things we do from SheCanCode, just to hear more people saying that. It's like
Yeah.
everybody feels that way, because everybody, I swear, at some point in their career has thought they're going to find me out. They're going to know that I can't do it, or and it's a ridiculous thought, because you get in, you pass the test, you're doing good work, and it's almost like you always sometimes have that voice where you think, I have to be kinder to myself and realize, these are the projects I've worked on. We're doing great things, and I think it's just the more that we hear that lots of ladies feel that way, and for you to be sharing your stories today as well is so helpful for other ladies that are feeling exactly the same way. So, Gabby, yourself, is that something that resonates with you?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something that is not from a really credible source, but there was this TikTok audio that is like, you can think it's not really hard. Boys can do it. So that's what I think when I'm like, oh my God, I cannot do that. Well, someone did this, and if it was a man, like a boy, like if boys can do it, I can do it. So that's what I think all the time now.
You have that
Yeah,
written on your wall if I
Yeah.
having one of those days.
my brother can
Yeah.
do it. I can do it.
Oh, and that is really true. My brother followed my
Yeah.
path.
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
but I would say more things as well. Like Subin said, there's not much women in tech, and that was really hard for me. When I was in my undergrad, I was the only girl in my class, and I graduated the only girl. And even though I was really good at what I was doing, sometimes my work was labeled, even by teacher, as like cute instead of good.
Oh
So
my
that
God.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
That
I'm
was,
not cute.
yeah, that was a time like I had to do this video about certain topics, and everyone had to do a video, and I really worked on it, and the professor saw all of them, and I was like, what do you think of my video? And he was like, oh, it was really cute. And I just looked at him and I was like, but was it good? Because cute is not something for being good.
Yeah. Oh, that is
And
annoying. Yeah.
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 And when I went to the bank, I was also the only back-end developer. But thank God there was a front-end developer, the other only girl in my team. And having her was like really good, like someone to talk to and to share experience. So being able to find someone that you can just tell what you're feeling, and sometimes they're feeling the same, and you can help each other. When I went to my master's degree, it was a bit different because I was one of two girls, and we helped each other so much that now she's my flatmate, and we got jobs together. She got a job at a studio. I got a job at Foundry. We moved to London together. So just having this possible like group of people that you can rely on and can help you will help uh, will make all of us grow together. So even though it's really challenging, it's also a great opportunity to form bonds.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, one where you moved to London together and now live together. So yeah, I mean we are advocates for networking at SheCanCode, but yeah, moving countries and moving in together is definitely a strong network that will continue to grow. Ladies, we're nearly out of time. I wanted to ask you quickly about what advice do you have for women who are starting in their careers? Is there anything that you kind of wish that somebody had told you before you got started? Subin, should we go to you?
It's kind of a cringe thing, but I will say just do it.
Yeah.
Don't try to be perfect, 100% ready. Like you said, just apply, put yourself out there, update your LinkedIn. If there is a few word matches the job description, just apply. Because at the end of the day, to land a job as a developer, you have to put yourself out there and you have to trust yourself. So I would say you're probably ready. Just go get the job.
Yeah, I love that you just said there, trust yourself as well. Gosh,
Yeah.
how many times we've felt like, as you
Yeah.
said, about imposter syndrome. So yeah, trust yourself is brilliant advice. And Gabby, yourself, any advice that you wish you'd been told?
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with Subin. And I would say that you're gonna feel sometimes that you're not part of that community, like because you can be the only girl sometimes. And I would say just embrace this uh unique perspective that you can help, that you can give out. Like your unique viewpoint is not just valuable, it's essential, because tech thrives on innovation, and innovation is fueled by diversity. So embrace your ideas and trust in your abilities, and don't shy away from expressing your thoughts and solutions. And of course, like I said before, find your community. it's crucial to have a support network. So like Subin is doing right now, look for mentorship programs, network groups, and communities for women in tech like this one. So yeah, I would say find your community and embrace your unique perspective.
Brilliant, lovely advice, and you're absolutely right. And being in a company where you're allowed to show your diversity and to see that as an advantage, and that they want you to speak up because you have a different perspective, then yeah, that is if you land yourself in the right job at the right culture, then definitely yes, you know, that is what they're looking for. Ladies, I could keep talking to you for another couple of hours on this subject. So we're going to have you back at some point when you've been at Foundry for another 6 months to hear about your journey. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you both. So thank you, Subin and Gabby.
A pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.